In 1995, a rebellious drummer from Lawrence, Massachusetts stepped out from behind the drum kit to form a band that would shake up the rock world. Fueled by Sully Erna's relentless drive and raw honesty, Godsmack rose from Boston's gritty underground to platinum success, blending hard-hitting riffs with dark themes. But their meteoric rise wasn't without controversy. Accusations of satanic imagery, banned albums, and Erna's ties to a particular religion kept the band in the headlines. This is the story of Godsmack's debut album. Before we get started, be sure to hit the bell notification icon and put all notifications on. I hear from a lot of my subscribers that they don't even get notifications when I post my videos. I would greatly appreciate if you guys did that. Godsmack's story begins in 1995 in Lawrence, Massachusetts, with Sully Erna, a seasoned drummer who decided to step out from behind the kit to front a new band. Erna grew up idolizing bands like Sex Pistols, Metallica, Black Sabbath, and, well, Aerosmith. He got his love of music from his dad, a trumpet player in a jazz band. Erna had spent over 2 decades as a drummer, including time with the band Strip Mind and another group called Meliah Rage, but he felt compelled to try something different. He initially formed a band called The Scam with bassist Robbie Merrill, guitarist Lee Richards, and drummer Tommy Stewart. Soon after recording a demo, the group changed their name to Godsmack, a term that was inspired by an offhand remark about karma rather than the Alice in Chains song of the same name. Sully, according to his mother, was responsible for a majority of her gray hairs, being a troublesome kid, but at the same time, his mother remarked that he was very caring. He frequently brought over stray kids to stay at their place, and he soon found direction in music. Erna told Rolling Stone, "It's something that I've done my whole life. I started playing when I was 3.5. My dad's a professional trumpet player. He's had a bunch of jazz bands, and I kind of grew up under the piano listening to them rehearse in the basement. And I just always knew. I quit school for it. I lost relationships over it. I sacrificed having an apartment and nice cars when all my friends were graduating high school and getting all the stuff. And I was still looking like the loser, schlepping off my parents." One of the albums that really changed his life was Aerosmith's record Live Bootleg. There was a collage of pictures, and one of them finally made him decide he wanted to become a musician. It was guitarist Joe Perry standing on a stage somewhere at a stadium gig, holding up his guitar with his hair in his face. And to Erna, he looked cool. The frontman remarked, "That's what I want to do." It also helped that they were from Boston. At a gig with his early band Strip Mind, Erna met a drummer named Tommy Stewart, who was from the group Lillian Axe. When Strip Mind broke up, Erna and Stewart linked up with bassist Robbie Merrill, a former high school wrestler who played in a variety of bands. Merrill told Spin, "I was 33 and I thought the band thing was never going to happen." But Erna made a deal if by the time he turned 30, if things didn't work out for the group, they'd agree to break up. Their new band, named The Scam, formed around 1995 with Erna on vocals, Robbie Merrill on bass, local guitarist and friend Lee Richards on guitar, and Tommy Stewart on drums. They soon changed their name to Godsmack after recording one demo.
Done pretty well for
Actually, we
yourself.
were called The Scam at first, though. We weren't even
The
Godsmack.
Scam. Yeah. How did that change? Is there...
Well, The Scam was something we came up with because we used to just kind of scam our way into playing gigs because nobody would take us yet. They didn't know who we were. And so I think there was even some times when me and TC hung outside the club before the opening band would show up. And he would pretend he was from the club and be like, "You guys are late, beat it," and throw him out. And then the guy would come out, "Where's the opening band?" And we go, "Hey,
Oh, wow.
we can set up and play. We're a band."
Oh, that's brilliant.
But then, after a while, we started thinking we need a better name because at that time, The Anything was kind of old school.
Now, of course, with a name like Godsmack, Alice in Chains comparisons were plentiful, with Erna stating, "Alice in Chains have been a big influence on us. I'd be lying if I said they weren't. There isn't any band that hasn't been influenced by someone else. We listen to everything from En Vogue to Korn." As for the origin of the name, the band claimed they knew there was an Alice in Chains song called Godsmack, but the band got their name from a different source. Erna recalled how the band was rehearsing one day when their drummer came in with a cold sore on his lip. They teased the drummer, and then the following day, Erna showed up to practice with a cold sore on his lip. He added, "And so one of the guys said to me, 'God just smacked you on the head for all the teasing.' We took it as a sign, so that's why we named the band Godsmack." In 1996, a former carpenter named Tony Rombola joined the band after the guitarist Lee Richards left the group after he learned he had a 6-year-old child. Their drummer Stewart also left due to personal differences, eventually returned later on. According to Spin, the early days of Godsmack were pretty rough. Rombola showed up to one practice notifying the members that he was going to be evicted. Couple this with regular appearances at a biker bar in Revere, Massachusetts, with Erna telling Spin it was a place called The Tank. It was in Crackville. There was one time where the air conditioning was on, and one of the bikers complained it was too cold, but the bar guy wasn't able to turn it down, so the biker pulled out a gun and shot at it. Godsmack initially self-released their debut album under the title All Wound Up in 1997. It was recorded at New Align Studios in Boston on a modest budget of $2,600, which they had borrowed from a friend. The album was cut in just one weekend. The record showcased the group's raw energy and hard rock sound. They owed their sound in the studio to owner and producer Andrew Murdoch, who helped the band hone their sound despite their limited budget. Erna played drums on most of the album in addition to fronting the group, with them initially pressing about 1,000 copies. As for Erna's lyrical themes, he chalked that up to his past relationships and anything he saw in the news that angered him. The band started playing local bars and clubs in Boston, building a reputation with songs like Keep Away, Moon Baby, and later on Whatever, which resonated with audiences in the New England area. Their early success was fueled by several things, one of which was local radio station WAAF, which gave heavy rotation to their song Keep Away. It helped the band, of course, gain traction. WAAF's program director, a guy named Dave Douglas, told Florida Today, in 1997, Rocco was our nighttime DJ at the time, and he asked if he could play the Godsmack CD on the show. I said yes, and the listener response has grown ever since. Rocco, meanwhile, told Spin the cover was a picture of this girl all tied up with wire, and I thought that's pretty cool. They weren't trying to be corn, they were just straight ahead rock and roll. Another big supporter of the band before they signed with the major label was Newbury Comics. It was in April of '97 the band came to the store with their album, and Newbury agreed to put it on consignment. The store's vice president, Beth Dube, told Florida Today, there was just this incredible buzz growing about this band. We could barely keep up with the demand. Godsmack has consistently been in our top 5 sales. All this attention, of course, led to their club shows being packed. The momentum caught the attention of Paul Geary, former drummer of Extreme and longtime friend of Erna, who signed them to his management company. Despite scant distribution, the album was selling about 1,000 copies a week in Boston, and went on to sell about 20,000 copies total. The Boston press referred to Godsmack's sound as a cross between Tool, Aerosmith, Metallica, and Alice in Chains. Erna told the Bangor Daily News, I think what makes Godsmack is that we take a lot of little bits and put them together. We take the aggressiveness of rock and add a pinch of industrial sounds to it. We think that makes for a cool recipe. In the 80s, it was all about who could play guitar the fastest. Now it's about who can create the coolest noises. By mid-1998, Republic and Universal Records came calling. Republic's general manager, Avery Lippman, told Florida Today how he heard of the band, admitting, we found out about the band by driving to Boston and we heard WAAF playing their music. Radio and touring have been the main reasons why this band is breaking, and WAAF has been there from the beginning. The band nabbed a deal to Republic 6 months after Erna's 30th birthday. The frontman remarked, the label likes how we've accomplished everything the old-fashioned way by touring. They set us down and said, we don't want to tell you what to do, just keep doing what you're doing. The label ended up remastering All Wound Up. They added new artwork and a new layout, and re-released it as a self-titled album on August 25, 1998. The album's revamped production helped elevate its sound while retaining its gritty essence. Among those tweaks was the addition of a new song called Someone in London, while the track from All Wound Up, Going Down was removed, but later appeared on the band's follow-up album Awake. According to Erna, the album was split into basically 2 themes, admitting half of it is about a previous girl like Keep Away, and then there's other songs like Moon Baby and Now or Never that are more about the girl I was with at the time. The first single issued was Whatever, which got the album off to a good start. Rombola revealed about its origins, stating, that's Sully's answer to his girlfriend when we were going through the whole struggle between rehearsing 5 nights a week, playing on the weekends and trying to keep a relationship going at the same time. We were really starting to take off, and it's hard to go through a relationship with a girl and have a band take all your time, plus we worked regular jobs. The song peaked at number 7 on the mainstream rock tracks chart and number 19 on the alternative chart. Interestingly, it set the record for the longest running track on the active rock top 10 charts, where it spent 33 weeks. Spin Magazine even listed the song in its top 50 alternative tracks for 1999. The second single, Keep Away, which gave them their first success in their hometown, was, as Erna revealed, written about hope to get the in my life. It peaked number 5 on the mainstream rock tracks chart and number 31 on the alternative chart. The third single, the tribal influence Voodoo, was a top 10 hit on both alternative and mainstream rock radio. It was also the most successful single off the record. Voodoo later spawned a sequel in the form of Voodoo 2 from their album 4. Voodoo was supposedly inspired by the film The Serpent and the Rainbow, and the band wasn't done just yet. The fourth and final single, Bad Religion, was issued in early 2000, with it peaking at number 8 on the mainstream rock tracks chart and number 32 on alternative rock radio. But 1 year later, following 9/11, the song appeared on Clear Channel's Do Not playlist. It was also reported that the band was the first group since Metallica to have 2 songs chart in the top 10 on rock radio at the same time, with Keep Away and Whatever. The album, meanwhile, peaked at number 22 on the charts and went 5 times platinum in America. But their self-titled record wasn't without controversy. Now, there were 2 controversies. Retailers Kmart and Walmart yanked the album off store shelves when a 43-year-old carpet salesman named Kevin Clark from Cleveland took his son to Walmart one day to buy a CD. He bought his son Godsmack's self-titled record. Now, the album had no parental advisory or warning sticker, and Walmart and Kmart didn't carry records with those stickers anyways. Opening the album, Clark became upset after seeing a pentagram on the artwork, with him remarking, "It's bold-faced Satanism." Clark was also upset by the foul language he found on the album and what he perceived as themes of self-harm. Clark then complained to Kmart and Walmart, who stopped selling the album, claiming they don't screen every album that comes through their stores, and they went on to say it simply fell through the cracks. Godsmack had to cut a censored version of the record for those stores to carry it, while also issuing a message that read, "Our record does not encourage violence or self-harm in any way. These lyrics are simply my way of venting emotion. And by the way, there's no satanic themes of any kind." But the band looked at the bright side, pointing at how the publicity actually helped album sales. Erna revealed in one interview that the band saw a 16% rise in album sales following the controversy. By June of '99, the album had already gone platinum and was moving about 50,000 copies a week. Erna also ran into trouble when he claimed he was a white witch into the Wiccan religion who studied with Salem priestess Laurie Cabot. He had met her when he was going through a particularly rough time in his life, trouble with women, too much drinking, and bad attitude. He referred to himself in one interview as a recovering Catholic. He told the Boston Globe that his witchcraft studies were merely a way to worship the earth and believing in the power of the earth, also stating he believed in karma, adding, "There's a misconception that it's evil. It's a positive religion that's helped me through a lot of bad times." He claimed he stumbled onto the religion through reading. This was something that came up again and again in interviews the band did for their first record, with him finally stating, "The last thing I want to do is become a poster boy for witchcraft," which seems to have already happened. It was important to note, though, none of his bandmates were into the same religion. Let's talk about the cover model. Who was the woman on the cover? Was she real, and if so, what's she up to today? Well, the woman on Godsmack's debut album is in fact a real person. Her name is Toni Tiller. She was interviewed by Kerrang! Magazine several years ago, where she discussed how she got on the album cover and what she's up to today. She didn't meet the members of Godsmack until years after the album came out, and she remarked how nice they were. As for how she ended up on the cover, she told Kerrang!, "I was living in New York City and deeply involved in the club kids scene, and so I had an interesting look. I met a photographer in Brooklyn, and we were trying a few things out for a project of his, and we snapped that image. A few years later, he was working with the band and they saw that in his book and liked it, so they purchased it for use. The next thing I know, my face is everywhere. It was pretty strange, but I love weird stuff like that. The image that the band used was taken 4 years prior in 1994. Tiller admitted she wasn't a model and was simply helping people out if they asked her. Despite being on the cover of a multi-platinum record, she claimed she was never really recognized in public. That was largely due to geography, because where she was living at the time, there weren't a ton of Godsmack fans. So what's she up to today, you're maybe wondering? She revealed, "Now I live in the woods, I'm bald, usually barefoot, and I'm into a variety of stuff. Meditation, strange objects, cooking, esoteric studies, cacti, dollhouses, rugs, and artsy crap. In my spare time, I have a reform school for rude kittens." Since doing the interview with Kerrang, she's posted some photos showing her signing posters of the band's debut record. Godsmack, as a result of the album's success, got some amazing touring opportunities playing Ozfest in back-to-back years. They toured with Black Sabbath for a few weeks, and they even played the ill-fated Woodstock '99 festival. Rombola recalled how quickly the success arrived, stating, "I think one of the big moments was on our first Ozfest. I got a gold record within the first year, and then a platinum record a few months later. That was a big moment, having that much success so early." The group's major label debut remains one of the band's most celebrated works. The blend of hard rock riffs, tribal rhythms, and dark lyrical themes resonated with fans during a transitional period for rock music in the late 90s. Erna, meanwhile, preferred to achieve success the way they did, admitting to Florida Today, "I prefer that the band grew from a street level instead of being an overnight sensation. When you grow a band from a club level, people embrace you more because the same people who saw you in clubs tend to stick with you." The album's success also laid the foundation for Godsmack's future endeavors, including the multiple chart-topping albums like Awake and Faceless. That does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again in Rock and Roll True Stories. Take care.